Hello, ladies and gentlemen, COTR here. Welcome to another installment of Cone on the Road. I have not really been doing many Cone on the Roads lately because I've not really needed to, because the Minecraft series is very much so a talkie series for me, and it mostly took the place of this format. So over the last few months, you might have noticed that there's a little bit of a change in the way I was doing things. If you follow very closely, you noticed there's more YouTube videos. I was posting at some points daily. That's something that I've not done in a good bit of time. It's been a while since I've done that style of YouTubing. Basically, once I started really streaming more, I stopped doing the daily YouTube thing because it's just too much. But yeah, this month or the last 2 or 3 months, I was doing a lot more videos, and I was doing real structured streams, had a lot more streams, and I just went through and I min-maxed my schedule to the absolute end. And it was all in an experiment because I'm constantly experimenting. I'm constantly trying to find things that will be, you know, the thing to move me into a stable situation and get things growing, you know, in the right way. And I wanted to really focus in and hone in on seeing if quantity helped, because there is certainly a competing theory there. There's a competing way of thought in that the right thing to do is just to do as much as you can, throw as many videos, as many streams out there as you can. And I talked about at pretty good length on Minecraft about my thoughts on the effects of that, and if people were pushing themselves too hard, if people were you know, driving themselves insane and causing themselves harm in pushing so hard to be on so often. And yeah, that was a really good Minecraft discussion. But personally, I tried to be real smart about it. I have a limited amount of on time per week due to my vocal damage. There's simply only so much I can spend, you know, on the mic every week. There's only so many words that I can utter every week before problems start to show themselves. And I certainly hit a point there, we'll say a couple weeks ago, where I pushed myself a little too far there, and I managed to get myself at a point where I could no longer, you know, make videos at all. You know, I was in physical pain. So it's a very fine line I was walking, and it was an experiment to see if that helped. Analytically, things looked like, yeah, they were working. The views on YouTube were up, and things were looking good. I also had the Minecraft UHC in there, which was kind of an oddball, kind of threw things for a loop. And although things maybe did look better, income-wise, they stayed the same. The thing that matters to me the most, and that is like community growth and community engagement and just overall satisfaction, did not seem to increase at all. Even though I was making more content, people were generally just consuming the things that they always wanted to. And I don't know, overall it just didn't seem like it made anybody happier. It certainly didn't make me happier, but it was worth trying. It was worth trying to see if that was a thing that would work for me. And I would just have to change my perspective. If that worked, I would just have to focus more on making more and putting less into it. And to throw a curveball into that, I also doubled down on the BeamNG automation content, because that's something that meant a lot to me. I was one of the earliest people to be involved with that program. Like I was part of that initiative way before it was even the BeamNG exporter. I have been part of that for 3 years, and it was really important to me to get a positive turnaround on that, to be someone that was at the forefront of the people using that technology. And I haven't done it. I simply haven't done it. The format that I use doesn't work for that medium. And it's heartbreaking to me because it was something that was so important. But unfortunately, there just doesn't seem to be an audience for mature content for that stuff that is worthwhile the massive amount of effort I was putting into it. For, say, Formula One. It's still a high effort video. I put somewhere in the range of 3 hours per episode of that. I would say 3 to 4 hours per episode. That's with recording, editing, practice, and all the sessions and everything. That is complete. Those BeamNG videos, like the Mighty Car Mods one, I may have put 12 plus hours into that single video. Now there was problems and there was, roadblocks and things like that, but overall, it's easy to say that those videos, I was putting double the effort into those versus, say, Formula One. So the fact that they weren't getting, double the impact, and overall it just seemed like people were not, even core audience was not really engaging too much with them. It's a hard pill to swallow. It's hard to accept that just because you're passionate about something doesn't mean that everybody else is going to be also. And it's probably one of the hardest parts of being part of this industry, claiming that this is my job. That is easily one of the hardest parts. So after that experiment, I've backed away from the big schedule and everything. I've certainly backed off a little bit, especially since I destroyed my voice, and now I'm in this phase again where I gotta rethink things. I gotta think of, what's the next thing to try. While in the background, if you don't watch these videos, which if you're hearing these words, you do, but the people that don't, they probably have no idea. They think, I guess Cone just slacking this week, or boy, Cone really made a lot of videos this week. This is the bumpiest road, but yeah, it's something that I'm constantly working on. I'm constantly thinking about what's the next step. And for me, I guess the next step is kind of just work in a way that works for me. And if that's not the way that works overall, it just isn't going to work. I'm glad kind of that the quantity thing didn't really have a night and day, renovation towards how things were going. I would have made it work. I would have kept trying to make that work, but yeah, I'm glad that didn't actually end up being something that was just like a revelation. So my goal now is to focus on the things that I know people love. People love F1. People love that series. I love doing not F1. I love doing the iRacing stuff, and a much smaller group, but people that do watch that really love it. And just honing in and focusing on the things that I know people like. Keep doing that. Keep my own style. Keep my own everything. Just keep doing what I'm doing, but also venture out and keep trying new things. I am soon to try doing a podcast for the first time ever. Because podcasts aren't totally overdone, and that's totally not 3 years too late to have started a podcast. Probably is. But it's something I want to try. And it's something I want to try with the group that I'm going to try it with. Myself, Kurt, and ZK are going to start a car-based podcast called Ran When Parked, and it's based on the cars that we find on, your average car classified sites, and just showing what we find based on a certain set of interesting things, because it's something we just kind of discovered that we enjoy doing. I kind of got Kurt into all that stuff. I believe I am to blame for the fact that Kurt owns a Corolla. I not necessarily got him into cars, but I got him into looking for kind of the collector cars, the cars for pleasure rather than cars as, appliance kind of thing. And one of the things that we commonly joked about, one of the things we see all the time, is ads of cars that are just, they're gone, they're rust, they're nothing. They are yard ornaments, and people just love to put the line in the description, "ran when parked," as if that magically makes everything okay. It makes it totally okay that it's been sitting in the weather for 15 years and is now completely rusted and withered away. It's okay because it ran when parked. If it ran when parked, then basically it's still a good car, right? But yeah, there's that, and there's other things that we find and we find interest in. And it's a good way for me to make car content. I can't spend money on making car content and hoping it sticks at this point, which is something I would love to do. That's absolutely what I would love to do. I would love to have enough stable income that I could be like, man, I want to start this car series now, and I'm going to put all of my money into it that I can and see if it works. Not where I'm at. But hopefully this podcast gives me a little bit of that style of making content and doesn't outwardly cost us anything. And I don't know, I just hope it works. Hopefully it's fun, hopefully we enjoy making it, and hopefully it gets reception. I don't know, we'll see. I'm just always willing to try. I'm always willing to try things. I do think that is where me and Kurt kind of work well bouncing off each other, because I feel like Kurt's a little bit more gun-shy to just try things. He's a little bit more, not to say that I'm not an overthinker. I certainly do overthink things on occasion, but sometimes I just go, I'm trying it. I'm doing this. Ah! And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Okay, most of the time it doesn't work, but you gotta try. That's always my attitude. You gotta try. It probably gets me in trouble a lot more than it helps. Speaking of things you just gotta try, April's gonna be a little bit weird for me. It's already, I mean, if you really follow, you've noticed that there's been less stuff on YouTube for sure. I took on a couple of odd jobs this weekend. I'm just like house sitting for somebody, so I'm away from my office and everything. So I can't, be streaming and recording as much as I would. But also I'm going to head up to Goods, and I'm going to help him with the Spring Minecraft Marathon. And we're also going to talk about some things, because I've been getting, like, we've gotten to know each other a lot more over the last year or so. And I think I have a very similar relationship to Good that I have to Kurt, in that, we understand what it's like to do what we're doing, but I don't feel that comparison. I don't feel that they look at me any different just because they were successful in what they did and I maybe wasn't. And that's really nice, because a lot of people that I've run into, they don't work that way, and that works absolutely the other way. People that I work with and maybe don't have the level of success that I had, if they look at me differently because I was more successful than them, then I don't want to work with them. And I think Good and Kurt are both kind of that way too. They don't outwardly say that, but that's just the aura that they hold, They just look at you as you are. I am just cone to them, and I like that. The last thing I want to do is leech. I don't want to be a leech off of either one of them. That was the hardest part for me of initially really getting to know Kurt and starting to do things with him, is I didn't just want to be a leech of what he has built. I didn't just want to pull viewers away from him. That wasn't a goal for me, and that's no good for me. That feels bad for me. So I always did whatever I could to try and help Kurt as much as I could. Even though my impact was small, even though I couldn't do so much, I tried to give him opportunity for making content. all of Conelanders, the entire Conelanders project was basically, how can I make something that is a comfortable community for Kurt to get into sim racing and feel comfortable making sim racing content. That was the basis of all of that, basically. And mildly successful there. Take it or leave it, if you will. But overall, it's nice to be able to feel like I'm not just somebody he reached out and helped. You know, I didn't want to be just a hand for him to have to feed. And the same goes for Good. You know, I try to do whatever I can to help him do what he does, because as somebody that does this stuff, I know it's difficult. It's difficult at my scale, and it's even more difficult at their scale. So the fact that they in turn want to help me out on occasion or through different means, it means a lot to me, and that's what makes working with people like that so important to me. So I don't know what exactly is going to transpire with that situation. As you know, my housing situation, very, very weird. I've got a very weird setup, and it's extremely turmoily and fragile. So trying to find some kind of solidity there, some kind of confidence in all of that has been a major goal of mine, and that's something that you know, me and Good have talked about on occasion. Some of you know what I'm talking about, some of you don't. But it's something that we're going to talk about, and it might just be something that is a temporary reprieve. It's something to let me have some time to have something else to worry about. You know, just something else to focus on for a little while would be great. Some kind of different goal outside of what I'm doing that has nothing to do necessarily with my personal development or anything like that. And yeah, just might just be a nice confidence boost, even just to do something else for a little bit. Not saying that not saying I'm like quitting YouTube and Twitch or anything like that. I'm just saying just a different underlying goal. YouTube and Twitch probably going to be integrated into that process if it happens. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know anything as of right now. I don't know anything. I don't know what the future holds. The hard part for me, like I said, is the car content stuff. There's nothing I want to do more than make automotive / car based content. Last year it looked like there was going to be an opportunity to do more of that kind of stuff. There was going to be some outside help with trying to do that stuff. Unfortunately, that seems to have fallen through. It doesn't seem like it's going to happen. And the situation I'm in, unless I shifted back to part-time content creation and part-time, you know, something else, I don't see any way I could possibly finance that kind of stuff at the moment. And, you know, I consume so much of that style of content, and it's, everything I see from it is people that they're starting with something. They're not building from nothing usually. They have something to fund them having something interesting enough to gather viewers. I was just watching these kids the other night, like a group of 3 kids, 16, 18, somewhere in that range, and they have a little rotary engine from an old rotary Hercules, I believe, motorcycle, and they're trying to make a shifter cart out of it. Very basic videos, you know, very handheld camera kind of stuff, very down to earth, but obviously using outside funding to make that work. So yeah, they're growing a great audience. They have I think hundreds of thousands of subscribers and things. They're doing great, but they hold on. Why don't people move over for tow truck drivers? That pisses me off. Selfish jerks. Anyway, yeah, you know, they're doing great things and they're making cool stuff, but they're not doing it from their YouTube revenue. They're not doing it from nothing. They're using somebody's money to to make that happen. And I'm sorry, I don't see that there's any other way to do that. You gotta have something to make something. That's just the way it works. And I think too much what I was trying to do was to make something from nothing. And it's too much. It's too hard a bridge to cross, at least for somebody as weak as me. There are stronger people out there than me that could probably do that. They could, do their own thing and do it their own way and do it from nothing. I just don't feel like I'm that person, unfortunately. So I keep working. I work so hard to try and make something work, try and make something from the things that, don't take investment to do in order to get to that point. That 100% is the goal for me. 50% is the goal for me. 50%, I want to have a comfortable living environment. I want to feel like I'm going to have a roof over my head tomorrow. Number 2, the other 50% is I want to get to a position where I can focus in on really making the kinds of video content that I want to make, the stuff that I dream of making, the stuff that is like the Cone's Garage stuff, but done in a way that's actually interesting to people. As much as I loved doing the Cone's Garage stuff, it was too slow, there was too little progression, there just wasn't enough substance there. I was, again, trying to make something out of nothing, and that's just too hard to do. It's just too hard to do. I love the format, I love the down-to-earthness of it. It's not an equipment thing. If it was just me and a GoPro, I think I could easily still make stuff that's good enough for my standards, or at least, good enough to make me feel like I'm making stuff that I'm proud of. Not to say I don't want, better, but it's the activities, it's the what I'm doing that's different. It's the what I'm doing that I feel like maybe isn't up to snuff. I'm surprised how little turnaround, how little I managed to get out of the supercharged 240, kind of progress. But again, with that, it was so slow. It took me so long to get every little piece of it together. It's been 3 years. It's still nowhere near a complete setup. It runs, it drives, but it's not complete. A small update to the previous, Cone's Garage style vlog thing. I did send the controller back. I have not gotten it back yet. I'll let you know when that happens. But yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult to, basically, I work really hard every day to get to a point where I can work really hard at something else. And maybe that's a flawed perspective for me. Maybe that's where I'm wrong. Maybe that's where I'm causing myself undue frustration. But that's the way my brain works right now. That's the way things are shaped for me. That's the direction I want to pull. So I don't know what comes out of the next couple of months. I don't expect huge changes. Don't expect there to be any exodus. Don't expect there to be anything too wild or crazy. It's probably going to be a lot more of the same, and just throwing shit at the wall and see what sticks, and hoping none of it hits the fan. That's kind of how I live my life lately. I appreciate everybody that keeps supporting, keeps enabling me to even think about this kind of stuff. I appreciate it so much. I appreciate everybody's support immensely, and I hope I can keep trying. I hope I can keep, I want to do it not just for me, but I want to do it for everybody that is supported as well. That's equally important to me. So stay tuned for the Ran When Parked podcast. Very excited about that. Hopefully it does well. Hopefully we enjoy it. And thanks as always for watching. And I'll see you next time.